Hello everyone, my name is Shadowsbom, and here to present you guys a quick look at Lissandra the Ice Witch. This is a new champion, they just revealed her. Obviously she's not going to be implemented for another month or so. But as you can see, this was announced at 11:54 this morning. So it's been a while. It's about 9:15 p.m. Eastern, so yeah, it's been quite a while since this has been out, but anyway, I thought I would go ahead and show this to you guys. If this is anything, if her little description right here is anything to go by, I already love her. So let's just take a quick look at her abilities, and we can assume from what we have over here on the right hand side, this is an image of all of her abilities, what they look like, what she looks like. We can assume what they kind of do. So let's go ahead and reduce that again. As we see here, Iceborne, her passive. After a brief cooldown, Lissandra's next ability costs no mana. Hitting an enemy with movement and pairing abilities reduces Iceborne's cooldown. Which, to me, sounds kind of like a mix between Nunu's passive and Ziggs's passive. But, everything's still subject to change. We don't know just yet. But I would have to assume that this is going to be the final product. They would have to tweak her once she goes live. But again, let's just continue reading on. Ice Shard. Lissandra throws a spear of ice that shatters on contact with the first enemy struck, dealing damage and slowing their movement speed for a short duration. Which, that's this right over here. That is the Ice Shard. Enemies behind the struck target also take damage. So kind of like Windrunner, if you've ever played Dota 2 or Dota, kind of like Windrunner's power shot, where the first target will take a lot of damage, and then beyond that it's just, reduced damage, or like Ezreal's ultimate, where the first target takes the brunt of the damage, and then it slowly degrades over time. I would have to assume that's how it would work, but we don't know just yet, obviously, until we see it in action. Ring of Frost, which, as we can see over here on the right, that is this. Lissandra freezes an area around her, dealing damage to nearby enemies and rooting them all for a short duration. Not bad. Not bad at all. It's kind of, it's actually really good. Kind of like Xerath's ability, I forget, it's like Power Surge or something like that, where he's rooted in place, but he does a ton of damage while he's in that place. So, kind of like that, and Karthus' Defile, I would assume that she can still move. I have to assume that, at least. Again, we won't know until we actually see her and play and, can actually test her out for ourselves. Glacial Path, which that is this right here. Lissandra casts a slow-moving, long-range Ice Claw in a line, dealing damage to all enemies in its path. Reactivating Glacial Path teleports Lissandra to the claw's current location. Meaning, if we go by this picture, if she were to reactivate it, she would go from right here, point A, to right over here, point B. It's not bad at all. Kind of like, I almost want to say Tristana's jump in a way, but it's a pseudo jump, I guess. I would almost have to say, almost like, what's his name's ultimate? God, my mind's going blank on me today. But you guys know who I'm talking about, where he swaps places with that with the person he's ulting. Yeah, that guy, Urgot. There we go, Urgot. Kind of like Urgot's ultimate, but different. This is an ultimate, plus it deals damage. But it is a slow-moving thing. But as you can actually see over here on the right side, you see where the Ice Claw would actually stop, so that's pretty good too. She can still reactivate it just before it gets there, like right here, and be right on top of that ash. And then Frost Tumor Ultimate, which looks just like this. On enemy cast, Lissandra freezes an enemy champion, dealing damage and stunning them briefly. Dark Ice emits from the target, dealing damage and slowing nearby enemies. On self-cast, Lissandra encases herself in ice, rooting herself in place briefly and becoming untargetable and invulnerable. Dark Ice emits from Lissandra, dealing damage and slowing nearby enemies. So, kind of like I guess that could also be used in conjunction with a Zanya's Hourglass to just make her invulnerable for such a long period of time that it's kind of insane. Kind of like how you can do it with Fizz, where you can Playful/Trickster, Zanya's Playful/Trickster again, and become just untargetable and vulnerable for a few seconds. You know, now we have just a quick explanation on her underneath. Lissandra's mobility and crowd control skills make her the ideal champion for aggressive roaming mid play. That's in mid lane at least. By shoving the lane with her AoE abilities, the Ice Witch can create a space she needs to make a move on top or bottom lane. Meaning she can clear her own lane quickly, go to another lane, and help them. The long-range blink from Glacial Path lets her get the drop on enemies from unexpected angles by jumping terrain or by circumventing typical ward locations, i.e. the tri-bush down at bottom, the tri-bush up at top, the 2 bushes at the middle lane, stuff like that. The wards that would be placed near Baron Nashor or Dragon, you know, being able to circumvent those types of wards. So she's pretty much a very, very good mid lane roamer. Kind of like how Lux is with her ultimate. She doesn't even need to be in the lane. She can just use her ultimate. Same type of concept. Top lane. Lissandra's passive allows her to be much less dependent on the blue buff compared to many of her AP counterparts, such as Ryze, Karthus, Lux, Orianna, so on and so forth. Make her an excellent self-sufficient choice for top lane. Despite her low base durability, the long-range blink on Glacial Path helps Lissandra stay safe. So again, she's pretty good at escaping or getting into those nice close quarters, and she's just overall a good champion, it seems, for one of those 2 lanes. But for Teamfights, it seems like Lissandra's... Again, I'm going based upon what I'm reading right here. You guys can go ahead and read this yourself as well. I'll put a link in the description below. You know, Lissandra isn't the type of mage who immediately blows up high-value targets, such as you would do with LeBlanc, for instance, where you want to focus, on your Tristana, you know, whoever the AD carry is, whoever the counter mid was. You know, you're not going to be that. You're more going to be like the whole idea of kind of, I want to say the way I play Ziggs, or I play like any champion middle, you know, where you just kind of try and sustain your way through and just slowly whittle them down. But yeah, Lissandra isn't the type of mage who, you know, immediately blows up high value targets, but instead has the potential to lay down impressive amounts of damage and crowd control on grouped up opponents. So kind of like how I play Karthus, actually, you know, just slowly whittle them down, add in a lot of crowd control with, you know, the wall of pain, stuff like that, and just be value to team. You know, the AoE aspect of Ice Shards, the AoE aspect to Ice Shard keeps enemies pinned down through repeated area damage and slow effects while she waits the opponent or opportune moment to unleash her full combo. Once she sees an opening, Lissandra can use Glacial Path to close and lock down high-value targets with Frozen Tomb. If the opposing team starts to focus her, Lissandra can cast Frozen Tomb on herself instead, juking the initial burst before escaping with Ring of Frost. So again, I assume you can move with Ring of Frost. If you're looking for, you know, a mage who favors crowd control and stuff like that, kind of like the Orianna, where she's just got a lot of crowd control and a lot of mobility, this is one of those champions for you. I'm not going to go into this story, but again, you guys can read more down below. There's going to be a link, and you can go and just look at it yourself. But I really can't wait to get my hands on Lissandra and see if I like her or not. Obviously, I feel I will, just because I like playing those types of champions where you're more sustained than anything else. You know, as far as middle goes, I like playing those champions where you can sustain longer than most people and still dish out a ton of damage and CC all at the same time. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down below of her, and I'll talk to you all next time.